Welcome back to this third part of our virtual tour of the Shwedagon Pagoda. In this video, we will investigate Burmese culture by exploring the stories of the Nats, the godlike beings of Burmese folklore that are depicted in the art of the Shwedagon Pagoda. In addition to the Buddha and various supernatural creatures, many Burmese people also believe in godlike beings called Nats, somewhat analogous to devas in Hinduism. Probably the most common Nat depicted at Shwedagon is that of Gya Min, the king of the Nats. Like Indra in Hinduism, Gya Min rides a three-headed white elephant, shown here with his wife. One of Gya Min's most visible symbols is the conch shell, which he holds in a sign of blessing. Local friends of mine say that they have seen practitioners of black magic, employed by certain top-level government figures in Myanmar, pour water from the conch shell in special ceremonies when the government dedicates new buildings, possibly due to the shell's association with the king of the Nats and the power of authority that his symbol is assumed to infer. 4 of these 6 Nats are Burmese representations of the 4 kings, figures who are more commonly depicted in Maitreya Buddhism. Collectively, they govern the 4 directions and lead armies of heavenly creatures against evil. Local people believe that, if women visit this statue and pray to the Nat it represents, the Nat will help them conceive a child. One of the most commonly depicted Nats of the Shwedagon is that of Wathondere. She's a sort of chthonic earth Nat, and is said to have played an important role in the Buddha's enlightenment. This story states that, while Gautama was meditating under the Bodhi tree, attempting to gain enlightenment, a demon called Mara became jealous and attempted to stop him. However, before Gautama could be tempted, he touched the earth with his finger to summon Wathondere, who appeared as a beautiful woman with very long hair. As she affirmed that it was Gautama's right to become the next Buddha, she twisted her hair, and the waters of detachment gained from all the Buddhist water libations made throughout time came out of them, washing away Mara and saving Gautama to eventually achieve his enlightenment. I've heard that she can shape change into a stronger creature, such as a Balu, if she needs to intimidate or physically fight with somebody. Wathondere plays a role in the Buddhist tradition of giving water libations at one of the 8 stations that can be found at the many pagodas across Myanmar, including the Shwedagon. Each of the 8 stations represents each of the 8 days and 8 animals of the Burmese zodiac. Traditionally, Burmese Buddhists will visit a holy site such as the Shwedagon and pour libations of water over an image of the Buddha that is found at their appropriate zodiac site. As they pour water over the image of the Buddha, they're supposed to recite a confession of faith in Pali and invoke Wathondere to witness their meritorious deeds. My guess is, it probably works even if you don't know the exact words. In order to know where you are supposed to make your water libation, you will need to know what day of the week you were born in. Luckily for you, if you know what day of the week you were born on, you will also know your animal in the Burmese zodiac. The day of Wednesday is divided into 2 days, so if you were born on a Wednesday, you will need to know if you were born either before or after noon. People born on Sundays are represented by the Galong. They are said to be kind, generous, energetic, and love challenges. They rarely let life's difficulties get them down. People born on Mondays are represented by the tiger. They're said to be strong, patient, detail-oriented, and notably law-abiding. They especially hate people who try to take advantage of them or who waste their time. People born on Tuesdays are represented by the chinte. They're said to be strong-willed but with a sense of nobility. They like taking on great challenges, especially if it involves supporting an underdog. People born on Wednesday mornings are represented by the tusked elephant. They're said to be independent, enthusiastic, and spontaneous, though they sometimes have a taste for danger that gets them into trouble. People born on Wednesdays afternoon are represented by the tuskless elephant. They're said to be private and somewhat enigmatic. They tend to be good at business. People born on Thursdays are represented by the rat. They're said to be clever, witty, and opportunistic, even if they are sometimes a bit introverted. People born on Fridays are represented by the guinea pig, which are actually native to the Andes in South America. They're said to be artistic and creative, but get bored easily. They're very warm and loving people who make good friends. Finally, people born on Saturdays are represented by the Naga. They are said to have a philosophical disposition and a desire to understand everything. They prefer to work alone since they dislike having to depend on others. A few specially revered holy places around Myanmar are believed to have special nats living in those places, who are assumed to have lived on the grounds before the holy places were built. At the Shwedagon Pagoda, that nat is Shwedagon Bo Bo Gyi. He is believed to protect the area around the Shwedagon and the people who venerate him there. It's said that before building the Shwedagon on his hill, King Okalapa had to give an offering of rice to Shwedagon Bo Bo Gyi and receive his permission. Shwedagon Bo Bo Gyi's original shrine is further down the hill the Shwedagon is built on, and closed to the public at the time this video was made. But the local monks built this second shrine on the Shwedagon's grounds so that visitors could have the chance to venerate him. Yetkhat Medaw is the only nat, other than Shwedagon Bo Bo Gyi, who has an individual shrine on the Shwedagon. People say that she is a giant Balu who has 1,000 eyes and 1,000 ears, so she basically can see and hear everything that happens in the world. In this way, her description is similar to that of the Greek giant Argos Panoptes, or the demons Qianli Yan and Shufeng'er, who serve the Chinese goddess Mazu. People who want her help to know things give offerings to her and pray to her to enlighten them. If you're a brave man, you can climb up and touch the statue to make a more personal request. Yetkhat Medaw likes sacrifices of flowers, coconuts, bananas, and cigarettes. I've had local friends tell me that they experience a sense of fear when they approach the shrine of Yetkhat Medaw. The oldest Bodhi tree on the Shwedagon was planted by Medet Sabada in 1926 from seeds gathered at Bodh Gaya, the place where the Buddha achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. There are 4 other Bodhi trees on the grounds, taken from seeds of different Bodhi trees across India. One of the more interesting type of nats I've heard of are Yoke Khaso, which live in trees. People say that these tree nats don't originate from the trees themselves, but travel around and live in the trees, the same way that people live in houses. Tree nats naturally want to help people, and people believe that if you care for the gnats' trees and pray to them, the tree gnats might help you by granting your wishes. They aren't vengeful, but may die if their trees are cut down unexpectedly. Because of people's care for tree gnats, they will try to do a special ceremony in the event that they must demolish its tree, in order for the gnat to leave in time and find another home. I once met a number of people in Taungu who described seeing a local Yoke Khaso in a tree in their university campus. They said that it came out at night and took the form of a small child or a toddler, and that it could sometimes be seen crawling up and down the tree through its branches or around its roots. They said that it had a timid nature and that it would always disappear when people came close to it. It's hard for me to know for sure, but my guess is that all of the 5 Bodhi trees on the grounds of the Shwedagon must be full of Yoke Khaso. This giant crocodile is called Moe Yeik, and it isn't uncommon to see images of him in Burmese temples and pagodas. He has one interesting story that I can tell you. It's said that, in a kingdom across the Bago River from Dagon, in modern Tanlin, there was a princess, Shinwe Nun, whose mother died before she could give birth to her, but the court doctor was able to save the girl by cutting her out of her mother's belly. The king of that country was angry and afraid of the girl, so he forced her to live outside the city walls in a tower so that her bad luck would not infect him or the rest of the people in the country. Across the river there was a kind prince of Dagon, Min Nandar, who saw the princess in the tower one day. After they met, they fell in love with each other, but when the king found out, he was afraid that the girl's bad luck would infect the kingdom if they were allowed to marry, so he forbade all of the boatmen to carry the prince across the river to see the princess. Luckily, the prince was friends with a giant crocodile who lived in the river, Moe Yeik, who agreed to let the prince ride on his back across the river every night to see the princess, then back every morning so that nobody would know. Unfortunately, Moe Yeik was apparently a very attractive crocodile, but he was married. There was a female crocodile who wanted to have an affair with Moe Yeik, but he refused. Like many women who get rejected, this female crocodile got angry and swore revenge. Soon after her rejection, the female crocodile decided to shape change into a human, as all crocodiles can do, and ingratiated herself to the princess in her tower, eventually becoming her friend and confidant. The other women living with the princess thought the crocodile woman smelled a bit fishy, but no one could tell the exact cause. In Burma, they believe that men, places, and objects have a certain energy, and that contact with women in certain circumstances can drain this energy, weakening them and exposing them to bad luck. One of the most well-known ways that a man can have his energy drained is for a woman to sleep or rest on his right arm. Even at the time this story takes place, people understood this. One night, before the prince was going to arrive, the crocodile woman told the princess that, in order for the prince to prove that he loved her, he should let her sleep on his right arm. The prince, being a very kind person and genuinely loving her, allowed her to do this when the princess asked. Unfortunately, when the prince was about to leave the next morning, there was a storm, and because his arm felt weak, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to hold on to Yeik's back like normal. Yeik instead suggested that the prince ride in his mouth across the river, and the prince agreed. Unfortunately, when the female crocodile saw Yeik crossing the river, she attacked him when he was halfway across. Yeik had to dive underwater to fight her off, and by the time he was able to get to the other side, he opened his mouth and found that he had spent too much time underwater, and the prince had drowned. In the end, the prince's father, Okalapa, executed Yeik. When the smoke from the prince's funeral pyre went into the sky, it became the first rainbow. When the princess saw the smoke from the pyre, she died of a broken heart. I've heard that there are still pagodas on the spots where the bones of the princess and Yeik were buried, but I haven't visited those places myself. Tradition states that the ashes of Minandar were buried on the hill on which the Shwedagon now stands. The most often cited moral of this story is, don't take a ride in a crocodile's mouth, even if he's your friend. An obvious secondary moral for men is, never let a woman sleep on your right arm. A possible third moral of the story might be, in the case of Yeik's wife, you need to be there to protect your man from dangerous hoes. Usually, when I visit the Shwedagon Pagoda, I see that some thoughtful petitioner has left a cup of water for Yeik, evidence of a belief that he lives on as a sort of supernatural being. If you've gotten to the end of this tour, thank you for watching. If you want to correct or ask for clarification on something said in this video, please make your request in the comments. Subscribe to this channel to receive a notification for the final video in this series. In our next and last video, we will explore the history and culture of Myanmar through examining the depictions of the Wezars, the enigmatic magical hermits popular in Burmese folklore.